Hello, everybody. It's 4:30. People are clicking in, so we'll wait just a couple more seconds. I keep hearing the bell. Uh, so wonderful to see everybody today. Just a quick reminder that you are not muted. You might want to mute yourself. That would be very helpful. Also, there is an option for closed captioning. So you can also click on that. So on the bottom of your screen, you can say show captions. So you can also be able to see the closed captions. And the rest of our team should be here in just a second. Hey, tech team at FMD, are we good on your end?
I think we're ready.
Okay,
Did you hear us okay?
we can. Can we see faces, or are we gonna leave it on this one screen for a couple seconds? Oh, there we go. Hi, everybody. So nice to see everybody. Quick reminder that if you are not muted, if you could put mute on your phone. So if you click on your thing, you can mute, make sure you're muted. And also, if you'd like to see closed captioning, there is that option as well. So on the bottom, you can see show captions and you can add closed captions. So welcome and thank you so much for coming today. I know I keep hearing more people come in. It's so exciting to have everybody. I am really thrilled to welcome you to our conversation today with our architects. For those of you who I don't know, I'm Michelle Sahoski. I am the CEO of Paws with a Cause. And uh, this has been an amazing several years in the process to get where we are today. We had a vision of how we wanted to serve more people and be able to do our work better, be able to take care of our dogs and our people better. And it started an amazing, amazing journey. And so now here we are today with an amazing architect firm that I'm going to introduce you to that has walked us through the last about 10 months to our construction piece, which started a couple of weeks ago. And they're going to tell you a little bit about how we got here. How did they take this information? How did they end up creating this amazing space that we're in the middle of renovating right now? So the architect firm that we hired, they're FMD Architects. They are out of Ohio, and they have a large specialty in animal care and animal husbandry units, especially vet clinics. And so to be able to add them to our team was really exciting. So I'm going to be introducing you to Ryan McNutt, Melanie Friedman, and Mark Moore. Quickly, for those of you who are here, please mute your phones. And we will get started in just a second. So Ryan, Melanie, Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you. And tech, maybe you can help me if there's anything I'm missing from a tech standpoint.
Can I just chime in really quick and ask to be made a co-host? So
Ultraflex blade effortlessly remove hair on carpet, keeping your home mess free.
Somebody definitely has their microphone on, so.
Lightweight Helio Airbroom at helioairbroom.com.
And I am not able to mute, so.
Everyone.
11374 now.
Can you make sure Michelle gets unmuted then?
Hi. Oh, great. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Melanie. Yeah, so we have Ryan and Melanie from FMD Architects here with us today. And they are going to talk a little bit about the process that got us to where we are today. And, you know, from that first day when we reached out, when we started looking and we were ready to move into the actual construction phase, we did a search and we said, we really wanted to make sure that we had the right architectural firm. We knew we needed partners in this who were really going to understand what we were trying to do, understand the mission behind our work. And we did a search and we submitted and asked for some bids, and FMD came forward and put their stuff. And right from day one, we knew that they were the right firm for us. They just really understood what we were trying to do, why it was so important, which is so key for our mission work. And so, and they generously said that they would give us a little bit of their time today and tell them how they got from my first phone call to where we are today. So, Ryan and Melanie, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you share a little bit about your story.
Sure. So thank you. We're excited to be here. From that first phone call, I wish we had known that we were going to be the selected ones, because we were on pins and needles. This project was so exciting to us that, we said to the team, we have to win this. And we were working behind the scenes trying to put together the request for qualifications, went out to interview. And after the interview, we're like, that felt really good, but you never know what the other teams are doing. And we were just waiting for the phone call back, like, we hope we're selected. So we were really excited to be part of the project, working with you all. Do you want us to give any kind of background on the firm itself? I feel like you already did a good job of introducing us and what we do, or do you want, we can just get into kind of showing the floor plan?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you want to highlight anything I missed, I know you don't just do vet clinics. So yes.
Yeah, so we've been in animal care for 16 years now, and started with a vet clinic and just truly enjoyed the project type and the client, and said we want to do more of these. So we kind of strategized how that could work, and we've been fortunate enough over the years. We're probably a couple hundred projects in. And we also were able to acquire a shelter design company this year, Shelter Planners of America. So now we've jumped from a few hundred projects up to like 950 with their portfolio. And it's just a vast amount of resource and knowledge that both of our collective teams bring to the industry. And this is such a unique project because it touches on so many aspects of what we've done with boarding and daycare, training areas, vet hospitals. One of our other studios is educational for humans. And we could take some of the concepts we've done there with simulation labs and apply that to the simulation training areas that we were able to do here. So it just fit a lot of pieces for us. And we're, again, just thrilled to be part of it.
I would just add that is as large of a portfolio that our firm has. We kind of have a small firm feel for when we do these projects. They're very personal to us, and I think Michelle and her team would be the first to tell you that when we're on site, when we're reviewing everything, going through all the details and listening to what everyone their needs are for this project, it becomes personal, and we really are investing ourselves into everything that is your project, everything that is Paws. So it is, it really means a lot to us to be a part of this project and on so many different levels. So I really appreciate everyone's time here, and excited to kind of share where we're at with things.
So can we pull up the floor plan maybe?
Yeah, you want HQ or
This will work. Okay, so I'm assuming you can see that okay there, Michelle?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Sorry, I had my mute on.
So this is the headquarters building, and the office area to the right, we ended up leaving the majority of that as it is, just for financing purposes, trying to keep within the budget. I know the budget was established a couple years back, and with inflation and everything, we wanted to do as well as we could within the dollars available and not go ask for a whole bunch more money. So we were able to mostly leave these items as is, but we did convert the main entry that people come in now into an employee entry. And we moved the main entry over to the side here. And there'll be a new entry canopy outside and very welcoming feel for people to come in and then experience kind of all that is Paws upon entering into the area. Within that lobby, you can gain access to like a public viewing corridor for tours. There's views to the puppy rooms that are in the green up at the top of the screen there, the board and conference room. There's a receptionist kind of greeting people right in the lobby. There's also a retail area and just some really fun finishes and shapes of architecture. And then there will be a history of the organization on the wall. So just a really welcoming feel that's a little larger than the lobby space that's there currently to allow for just better flow and circulation. And it's more centralized so that people coming in can get quickly to the areas they need to be in without having to traverse through other areas of the building that they might not be needing to go through. The large green area represents a puppy park that is also quickly accessible there from the lobby. And then just to the plan north of that is the public viewing corridor. So during public tours, people will be able to see the puppy park. And then there's a even smaller little puppy playground on the top side of that corridor. And then the breeding area is directly adjacent to that. And the vet clinic is next to the puppy park on the bottom of the screen. So there's some shared spaces. There's quick proximity between the puppy training, the breeding, and the vet that just help with the flow and efficiency of the way that the space is used and gives better access to the space for public and clients without interrupting the flow of what's happening with the volunteers and staff. If you can scroll just to the left a little more, there's also a entrance directly into the vet clinic. There's a separate reception lobby, so people can bring their animals, dogs that are needing to see the vet without having to come through the main lobby area. They can just get directly where they need for that specific care. And it is a full vet clinic now with a treatment area, x-ray room, surgery room, couple exam rooms, some staff areas. So it really will function like a full veterinary clinic with separate space for isolation of maybe sick dogs and some recovery kennels and things like that that just aren't available right now. For those of you that, if you're not aware, right now the vet clinic consists of a couple spaces just off of a main corridor. So just from a safety and cleaning standpoint, for the health of the animals, this is a much better setup, and then obviously a lot better space to utilize to be fully functional for Paws. To the north and south, then, if you zoom out a little bit, you can see kind of in the green on the exterior, we have different, the vet side has outdoor runs, and then on the plan north, there are outdoor runs as well that are separated, and those are for the dogs that are in for breeding, and there's a separate female housing from male housing, and a lot more separation of spaces for noise and acoustics, and just keeping the dogs feeling calm and comfortable while they're there and able to get quickly where they need to go. Is there anything you want to add to this, Ryan?
Yeah, just overall, some of the walls and spaces that we kept existing, do know that all the HVAC systems are being replaced and all of that works. So the actual feel of the spaces when they walk in, I think will be quite different for everyone that is working there. And it'll still have like a new feel, even though, like I said, like Melanie said, a lot of the walls we're trying to keep for cost purposes.
Okay, go ahead and do the. Yep, so this is just an image inside the veterinary clinic in the treatment area. And in the back, you can see that's where the X-ray room is, which you can actually see the X-ray room off of the public viewing corridor as well. And just kind of a central little hub there for treatment that all of the other spaces are off of. Yep. Okay, and then this is the Canine Development Facility. So right now, a lot of the training had been happening kind of right up by the offices and in a wide open space, and noise has just been a real challenge for the trainers to get the dogs to hear them, and they feel like they're yelling all day long. So separating the training center into this building and creating a really focused area with the simulation spaces, real life situations that the dogs might find themselves in. If you want to just zoom out a little bit, Brandon, we were able to create a feel of like a main street. So there's an area where there's raised sidewalks and a wheelchair accessible ramp up to an apartment, a regular flat entrance to an apartment, the truncated domes that a wheelchair might traverse up and down, some entrances into like a retail space with sliding doors that doubles as the merchandise area for Paws, and then a second space that doubles as a break room that feels like a Starbucks. So the dogs can come in and see what it's like to come up to a counter with their owner and open the controls on various types of doors and things like that. So it just gives them a real world practical experience in addition to the apartment setup that Paws already had in the facility. Then we created new apartments to expand upon the kind of living simulated areas. So we have a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom. One of them has some stairs. They both have kitchen area, restrooms, laundry room, so the dogs can experience just all of the different things that might happen within those spaces on a daily basis when they're out in the real world with their humans. And on the back side of the apartment, there's a deck, and that actually doubles for the dog shows that would occur on the back side. So right now we have in the space, there's a little kind of mobile unit with some steps and a little landing, and then the steps go back down. So we created a removable railing on the deck so that it could serve double duty for both the apartment simulation and during the dog shows, and then just a wide open area in the back to do additional trainings and some ancillary things for research and development space, training spaces, classrooms, staff areas, all of those kind of ring around the perimeter of the training spaces. And then off to the left is where a new housing addition is going. And these are all separated into small little pods to keep the noise levels down and again, keep the dogs more comfortable. They all have direct access from their pod to the outside. And within that area, there's a food prep, a laundry room, a grooming area, so that all of their needs are met without going through the rest of the facility. Anything you want to add to this building?
No, I think you covered it all. We're good.
And I think we have a couple rendering or two from inside this one. So this is a view of that main street with the apartment on the left and some of the store areas on the right. And you can see the sidewalks there. And we really wanted this to look, even though it's inside, we wanted it to look like a real building. So the apartments were built with exterior finish, or will be built with exterior finishes on the outside there, so that it really looks and feels like a home that they'd be going into. Is there another one then of the dog show?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Okay. Michelle, is there anything else that you wanted us to add from anything we've talked about here?
I think it's all the little details that you guys really thought about that I think are going to make the difference. The sidewalk with curb cuts. When we are working with a client who is using a dog for counterbalance, having a curb cut can be so difficult for the client in the real world. So to be able to practice that with our dogs before they go out into the environment is just really life-changing. Another thing, when one of our clients found out that we were going to have a ramp, they were so excited because one of the challenges is ramps are made fairly tight, and trying to go up a ramp with a dog next to you beside you is just an added complication. So being able to work with the dogs in that environment before they are in the real world is just going to make it so much easier. So you guys really thought of like all of the big things, but the small things too. I mean, I think we have like 15 different types of doors in this area. I don't know what the subcontractors are thinking when they're seeing the order list, but we have every type of door imaginable, right? Like we have outdoor doors, we have indoor, we have sliding doors, we have commercial doors, screen doors, because every single one of those are out there, and we want to be able to train with all of those environments before we send our dogs home to their clients. So I think that's been one of the things that's been really exciting to see about how it's really going to transform how we're going to be able to train our dogs and really help them to be successful so that our clients are successful, which is why we're here. And then, you were talking about the new addition and the new canine village, and I kept thinking it's Hotel Paws. It's, everything that our dogs are going to need to be able to rest and be taken care of so that they can be successful. How do we create all of those places to create success? So those are just a couple of things that I was thinking about as you were sharing some of these last renderings. So I know that Ryan has really walked us through this process. So, I mean, maybe from your perspective, Ryan, I mean, like, we had you sit through a lot of meetings with our team members. Talk a little bit from your perspective, like what's the process there, and sort of what were you thinking when you were meeting with our team members, and what did that look like in your head?
So I don't know how many different groups we met with and kind of broke it up, but there's at least a dozen groups, and a lot of them are overlapping where they have multiple roles in the facility. And so as we're going through this, every group wants everything. Like the wish list items are just abundance coming out in these meetings, and it's just trying to filter through what the needs are and how we can make it all work together. Because that was one of the biggest challenges, where we have these separate meetings and they're almost like separate like little pods. Like we're working in independent groups, but then how do we bring all those groups so it feels like it's one project and everyone feels like they've had their say and they're getting what they need, but it's been integrated with everyone else. And for me, that was the challenge, and that was the excitement as part of it as well, because I love to problem solve. So hearing what everyone wants and then trying to figure out how to fit it into two existing structures, because it's not like we get to build all new and start over. We have to work with everything that's there. And that was it was interesting because you get to see everyone different viewpoints and from their perspective, and then just trying to roll that into one design. So that was my perspective, and I found it just very, very exciting. And I think as Michelle mentioned when we started this, it was about a 10-month design process. And we would start with, in our meetings, like a calendar showing this is where we are. And then we keep bumping it along the way. And I said, the time's going to go by quickly. Before you know it, we're going to be in construction. I think early on, we were like, oh, we got plenty of time. It's 10 months. It's almost a full year. And then before you knew it, we were halfway through and like, wow, we still got a lot of stuff to cover. And I don't think everyone understood the amount of details it takes to do the floor plans. And even if you look at the plans that Melanie was going through there, it feels pretty simple. Oh, how does that take 10 months to design? Knowing all the information and understanding what it takes to make sure everyone has what they need for the facility, it does. It takes a bit of time, and I I think and I feel we captured just about everything that we could have, especially along Main Street that we are focused in on with that rendering, all the like Michelle said, all the different doors, surface types. We have different grates, style grates along the street or along the sidewalk. We have some. I love the open like the turf areas that are inside the building, just to kind of give it that a little more of a warmer feel and not so sterile of like a tall metal building structure. So hopefully when it's done, everyone feels the same way. And yeah, it's just very exciting.
Well, I think about even the breeding rooms. Like, so when we were talking about the breeding rooms, and those of you here that are part of our breeding family, you know, when you have to clean up after those puppies, they are going 8 different directions and you're trying to clean around them. And that was one of the things that we really talked about. So even like a little item of putting in like a little half fence that we could just shut so that there's a gated area so we can have puppies on one side or the other side so that we can get in and do our work without tripping over all those cute little 8-week-old puppies who are fast and furious. I mean, just all of those little details. I see that Marguerite, hi Marguerite, put a question in the chat box. I'm not sure I completely understand it. What about construction stimulus? So maybe you can add a little bit more, or if you want to unmute and give us a little more information. And then if anybody else has any questions, I'm happy to welcome questions from the crowd too.
Hey, Michelle, Katie King.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, what? They said something about dog shows.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I think some of you guys have heard about this. So when our dogs come back from prison and we are taking a look at them for the first time, we colloquially call them dog shows. All of our trainers and our entire breeding department all come together and really see who's in that group. So they're seeing how they respond to toys and treats, and even the cat. Ryan got to observe one of them. That poor cat works really hard on dog show day. So we want to see how they're reacting to that. Dawn is looking at the structure of the dogs to see if they look like they can handle what it means to be a breeding mama. And so that's sort of the first day that our teams really come together when those puppies are about 18 months old and really say, hey, this is where we think their strengths are and what career path are we going to look for. So having a space that was really set up for that is going to be really, really nice. So he was showing, they were talking about the patio and stairs on either side. So those of you who are familiar with our campus and our puppy room, you know, we've got those like wooden things that are just stairs that go up and down and they're sort of clunky. That's so we can practice stairs with our dogs and see how they react. So that's one of the things that we look at in the dog show is how do they go up and down stairs? And so just having that bit be built into the patio and sort of that real world environment is going to be just those little things that make our work just a little bit smarter. So did that answer your question, Katie?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I also saw a question on there about if the buildings are connected, and they are not right now. There's actually 3 buildings on campus right now, and the first one we showed you was the headquarters building up front, and the second one was canine development in the back. So there's a building in between them. What we did do is allow for in the future where that vet clinic reception area is, that could connect to a future hallway connector. But within the existing budget of what we had, we wanted to maximize getting the flow and some of the spaces that needed adjustment. And then a future phase could be to potentially connect the buildings.
Yeah.
Yes.
This, this is Marjorie, Nana, and Scarlett. Um, but, but, I mean, but, but the question is, like, like in some cities, some cities have have uh, construction around the sidewalk.
Um, Yeah, so I think you might be referring, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Marguerite. For a while during COVID, there were some stimulus dollars that allowed you to use funding for some different things that some of it was construction related. No, we don't have any of those dollars. That was used a couple of years ago for other things, and Paws was not eligible for that funding. So this funding for this project has been really through our community. We have had private donors who have made it possible. We are at 8.8 million of our $9.5 million goal to do all of these renovations, and that is from individual donors.
May I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Did you say it's really on the inside, but it's stimulated like it's on the outside?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the training apartments are actually inside the building. So not a lot of weatherproofing was needed, which is very exciting. So when you walk into the building, it will look like you're walking outside with like a fake canine grass. So like Deshonda, I know you guys travel a lot. So when you go to those airports and they have those airport rooms with the canine grass, we're actually going to have some of that in our so we can practice. I know, it's so awesome, huh?
I appreciate because that's one thing my buddy like he's not he'll do it, but I have to ask a lot of times to get him to do it, and I have the fake grass because like you said, we travel, so
Yeah.
that's good. That's good to know. And what the play? So that would just be so. I've been learning from different programs. That would just be for demo. Like we still won't have to come there like and stay, right?
Correct. Right. No, the plan for this is like, how do we continue to have even more real world stuff where we're at so that it's even easier to integrate the dog into your home and your life. So, and it's everything. So that's part of the reason why we have a split level with the stairs, so that if you have, you have something upstairs and your dog is downstairs, there's that reaction point. For a lot of our hearing clients, of course, that's a huge thing, right? They're upstairs and somebody's knocking downstairs. Well, getting the dog to respond to that. So how do we create that environment here so that it's just a little bit easier when we transition the dog into the home environment with, of course, our amazing field reps. And we would never get rid of our team out there who was helping our clients on the ground. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's what I wanted to know because
Yeah.
that has been interesting with flying, getting your buddy to use the bathroom on different things. Because like Las Vegas, they don't have grass and they had something fake too. And I had to really talk to my buddy to convince him. All
Yeah,
right. Thank you.
it's different. Yeah, no, absolutely. And so yes, there'll be that. And then the other nice thing about the training center is that there will be times that we will have offerings that if clients do want to come in, if they're here near campus, to be able to work on things right here too. So that's going to be fun for us as well. And then also there was, I don't know if you guys remember from the picture at the very top of it, it showed the trainer office, and then next to it was a classroom space. That will be a nice classroom space which will be set up for Zoom links and things like that, so that we can actually do virtual sessions with people too, so that trainers can actually provide support that way too. So yeah.
I had a question about the vet part too. Well, us people that like have insurance, because I don't know if you were saying it's going to be a vet, like us people that have insurance. I know y'all make decisions. Well, my Paws representative make decisions with my dog medically. Like, is that something we have insurance? We can bring our dogs that's been placed with us, and our insurance still pay for it there.
So our vet here provides support to our to our dogs in training. So
Oh.
just so when your dog goes to you, you'll still go to your own vet, use your own insurance and everything like that. So
Okay.
but yeah, so while the dogs are here, so from birth until they get placed with you 2.5 years later, we have a vet clinic to make sure that we can keep them healthy and taken care of and all of the fun stuff.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Who else has questions?
I see a question about airline seating. That is not something that we had talked about, but it is kind of fascinating. And I think there's enough open spaces that I don't know if that's something, Michelle, that you'd want to consider for the future, but I like that idea.
Yeah, we've thought about airline seating and theater seating. Are both on the short list, but was something we could add in post construction.
That was for me. Hi.
Michelle, what's the timeline of the completion of the project?
Oh, I'm going to let Ryan and Melanie answer that question.
Okay, you're up, Ryan and Melanie.
I don't know, Norm's on the line. I think we should have him on mute.
There you go.
I want it videoed and taped when it's going to be done.
It's contractual obligation. We're currently planning on it. It ended up being a two-phase project. Paws with the Cause vacated the entire back building, the Canine Village portion, for us and turned that over. So the intent is to have that wrapped up in the spring, and then depending on our start date for the front building after they vacate that building, that's the more complicated version of this project. So that will kind of dictate. We are currently shooting for a September finish of next year for 2025. We had a couple of opportunities with the process of getting permits for the building itself, but I think we're off and running now.
And for those of you who don't know, Norm is with Dan Voss Construction, who is our general contractor construction partner on this project. So they are from the Grand Rapids area, and they've been around for, it's like over 50 years, right, Norm?
Yeah, yep, it's been a long time.
And they also come with experience building some vet clinics, and so they came with a lot of experience, and they're very familiar with the Paws mission as well. So thrilled to have them on as part of our partnership.
Thank you.
And I don't know if anyone caught it, but Norm said the word opportunities. I love that he uses the word opportunities when most people would say it's a challenge.
That's a combo pack.
Melanie, I can't see the questions on my side. So if you see them, if you can keep the ones that are in the chat box. So
I'm squinting because I really should have glasses and I don't.
I put a question in the chat box. I was just wondering, with the construction related noises that will be on campus, are there certain plans in place to help ensure the dogs don't get too stressed from those?
Well, that also feels like a good Norm question. Partially having one building done and us vacated and then doing the other one helps create some separation there. But Norm, how are we keeping it quiet for the dogs most of the time?
You actually, in my personal opinion, answered the question, because we've got an entire building that isolates us from the animals themselves. Right, they're up in the headquarters building as we speak, so they're substantial. Now, obviously, outdoors that becomes an issue. So I guess we'll kind of work around it as much as we can, but obviously, once we get out back, some of the noises we make are probably good simulation for the dogs training anyway. There's construction just about everywhere you go.
Yeah, and for those of you who are familiar with our campus, when we shut down, our back building is where we ran foster puppy classes. It's where our breeding department was out of. We shut that down. Our breeding is now working out of our main building. So they are sharing those kennels, and we've kicked some of our lovely staff, admin staff, out of their offices and have made some puppy rooms. So we are our team has been amazing, and it's making it work. And then once the building in the back is done, we'll go the other direction, but with plenty of kennel space, because we'll have the new canine village, and our people will have a lot of shared spaces. So really trying to do it so that it's the least disruption for our daily work as possible, and to make it as comfortable for our dogs as possible. The middle building is not under construction at all, so all of those kennels and that all operation is staying the same.
And as part of the construction process, we do a 2-week look ahead every week. So when we know there's going to be like concrete removal or something like loud noise, part of the construction process, we are able to give Paws and Michelle and her team a heads up about that, so we can help prepare and understand what might be needed in addition to what Norm and his team are already doing. Try to keep it separated.
I have a question. Has construction started?
It has. Yeah, we started about 3 weeks ago. We are still in interior demolition for the most part. I believe tomorrow is the go day for the bulldozers to start excavation for the new addition. So right now it's been all interior demolition.
Thank you.
Someone asked about winter work. So with the excavation starting right now, the goal is to get all of the concrete footings and all of that work done before the snow starts really pouring in. And, the framing can happen during the winter. It is wood frame construction, so that can happen as it's cold. And then the majority of the rest of the work is all inside. Ryan, there's a couple questions there. I think one of them was about the challenging aspect of the design, and then a couple other ones I might want to hit on.
What was the most challenging aspect of this design, besides cost? That's a great question. On my end, the challenging thing was not to do too much, to kind of pull back. It's so excited about the project and want to have so much into it as far as providing these real life experiences within like a simulated space. That was my challenge, was to try to stay within budget and not want to do everything that everyone was hoping for, like all the wish list items, and then how do we, some of those wish list items, how can we provide it where it meets multiple goals for multiple people, like shared. The deck that was on the patio on the outside of the apartment complex works not only for training for the apartment or for a house, but also worked for the dog show for the breeders to look at those dogs as well. So kind of shared goals with the construction.
There's another question about, has it been more of a challenge to work with the existing building shells than to design new buildings from scratch? I would say yes, but it was kind of a fun challenge. With the existing headquarters building, there's actually a 2-hour firewall right down the middle of it, so we could not move that wall. And restroom locations and things that we were trying to keep consistent. For cost reasons, we also tried to minimize some of the kennel areas moving just because of how many drains those have. But being able to put a puzzle together and take all those pages and pages of programming notes that Ryan referred to in those meetings and just pour through them and kind of rearrange everything until all of those needs are met, and the adjacencies and who needs to be close to whom. The vet needs to be able to quickly access the puppies, and the vet and the breeding need to share a lab, and all those tiny little details. And then you finish and it actually all works and you can check off all those boxes. It's really fun, and it feels more gratifying than something that you get to start with an open slate, and it's easier to lay it out. So I think it was a challenge and very fun.
Yeah, you touched on something there that we really haven't talked about. We've talked a lot about some of the stuff for the dogs, but staff efficiency was also a really key piece, right? Like, how do we do our work better, a little more efficiently? Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that we did to sort of create some of those spaces to help our staff be able to do our work a little better? smarter?
Sure. So we reconfigured a lot of areas where before they might be traveling between different buildings, and now they're in the headquarters building having the breeding adjacent to the vet, but also adjacent to the puppies, and then the puppies adjacent to the vet. And then that central corridor where the public goes is really secondary. The staff can traverse between the spaces without having to go across that corridor. So there's really like 3 circulation paths, one through the top, one through the middle, one through the bottom, and the staff and volunteers use the top and the bottom, and the public use the middle. So just being able to get where they need to go quickly, having those adjacencies and connections even through the various spaces. We spent a lot of time kind of reworking and maneuvering things to make all of that work. And then with grooming, we have a larger grooming area in the breeding area, but there's also that other grooming area for the canine village. So they're not trying to share grooming stations. We put we call them clean stations. It's like a dump station for solids and a hose reel to wash things down. We put those spread throughout the facility so that when you need to clean up a mess or just do general cleaning, you're not, traipsing hoses all over the place, and just making it easier for them to do their jobs and focus more time being able to be spent with the animals.
And I would add to that, and I think one of the other questions after us, so this might touch on as well, is part of the design includes better separation and acoustics throughout. So this will allow the trainers to be able to focus on what their job is to train the dogs, and it also allows the dogs to not have additional distractions from people walking around or hearing outside noises. When you can have this focused group and training, it needs to happen. Hopefully the learning or the additional attention that they're receiving is just heightens what they're doing. And I think the acoustics and that separation also will ultimately be more efficient for what everyone's doing there.
I see a question about ADA accessibility with bathrooms, and yes, we are taking the existing bathrooms, and in one situation, the wall was a little bit off-centered, so I don't remember if it was the men or women's restroom that was a little smaller, but we're moving that to center it up and making sure that each bathroom has accessible fixtures, toilet stalls, sink fixtures, door clearances, things like that. There's also a question about, also related to ADA, those little red things at the sidewalks. Their fancy name for those is called truncated domes, and we do have those on the simulation.
I don't know that I realized that's what they were called, so I learned something new today.
Another question, what are some of the unique things you incorporated into the design that are specific to Paws? I think we touched on a few of them already with the acoustics. Melanie mentioned the clean stations. Those are throughout. Wherever we have dogs, either by the kennels or in between the different spaces that they will be essentially living in. Again, to help out. We also have food stations and food pantry areas in between different spaces as well to help with minimizing having to go all the way across the facility for those operations, where those operations can be kind of singled out in those specific spots and separated out. Some of the other items, the HVAC system is very unique. We have a lot of, it's called direct outside air that has to be pulled in, and before it gets pulled into the space, it's actually treated, whether it's heated or cooled or humidified or dehumidified, and then the basically the air that was in the space is completely exhausted out. So we're having constantly fresh air come into the space. I think that is certainly gonna be something that's unique to Paws and everyone that's been living in the current facility to feel the air, not like, because a lot of the smells and the odors are also being taken care of and filtered as the air is being recycled or cycled out and new air coming in.
Our staff is very excited for that. Um, so I think one of the other things that I think is really interesting is how you were able to put all of the pieces together, right? So when you do a vet clinic, you have the surgery and the dental and the isolation kennels, and you sort of have that. When you've done shelters, you have the kennel spaces and maybe some volunteer spaces, right? And then when you've done doggy daycares, you've had training areas and some of those play areas and stuff like that. And then we do all of those things, and you added in a breeding area, and you sort of put all of those pieces together in a way that really makes it work for us to get our puppies from 0 to that placement at 3 years, right? So I know that's one of the things that was really exciting for me as to how it hit all of those really key things that our organization needed to be able to really do our work better. So question there, like, was that a challenge? I mean, like, I know you've done a piece here and a piece there, like, but sort of putting it all into one?
Yes, it was more complex. Like you said, it might be this piece or that piece, but to get each of them to work within themselves and then also married to the other pieces, it was challenging. And usually when you have a more complex project, you have to work through priorities and say, okay, these 3 things are kind of in conflict with each other. We might be able to get 2 of them, but this third one isn't going to work because as soon as you move this, then this thing doesn't work anymore. And when we finished the first layout and we felt like we had accomplished everything, I was actually surprised. I said, I didn't know if it was possible to solve it without having to sacrifice some of the functionality. And I think that was a little bit more of a grandiose version where we were also relocating the offices and things. And then Ryan said, Melanie, are you crazy? No, he didn't word it like that. He was much more polite. But we pared back a little bit and then reworked some of it, and we were still able to get the functionality that was needed without moving as many things. So yes, it was, multiple iterations and it was challenging, but it I think ended up working really, really well.
Yeah, and during the design process, when we spoke to the different groups of the facility, it was understanding not only their needs and their wants, but also the synergies between different groups in the different space types. Who needs to be next to what? What are they looking for? And we received such great feedback and comments during those meetings that it really allowed us to focus in on what those priorities were and how to put those adjacencies together so the spaces would flow from one to the next. And I really think creates an efficient layout for everyone.
Do we have any last questions? I know we're getting close to the end of our time.
That someone asked to clarify a little bit again on how you're utilizing the apartments. I think you touched on it a little bit, but maybe you go into some additional details.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so our training apartments actually are critical to having our dogs ready to go to our clients. So what we do is we work on creating as much of a real world experience as possible before our dog goes to the client. So so we'll actually be training sounds in one apartment. So that's one of the things we didn't talk about is the extra soundproofing we did around the apartments or will be around the apartments so that when we're doing hearing dog work, we can actually isolate sounds and they can respond to the alarm on a oven. So when a client is cooking, they need to know when their oven is going off. Or one of the other things for hearing clients is we do a an alert if it sounds like somebody's breaking in to your house. So we actually have that set up with the windows and everything. So actually can mock up like it sounds like somebody's breaking in. So the dog will alert there. If we have a client who needs help transferring in and out of a bed, we actually have a bedroom with a bed in it, and we can actually help the client and the dog, or teach the dog how to do that and help a person in and out of bed, pull back covers, take off shoes or clothing. So all of those pieces, and what does it look like in a real world? For some clients, they have a medicine bag that's kept in one part of their house, and the dog is taught to retrieve that for them. So we can actually practice that in that apartment setting where that item is in the bedroom, and we teach the dog how to go to another room, retrieve that medicine bag, and bring it back to them. So, so there's a lot of different places. And right now we have sort of a mock mini apartment, which is so critical to our work. But you can imagine that all of our trainers fight over it because everybody needs apartment space. So it is like one of our scarcest resources. And so be able to double our apartment space, as well as having some of these other real world environments, just helps be able to expand how we're going to be able to train dogs in different spaces. So
I see. One last question. What is the ongoing relationship with Paws Prison Partners? Where and how many people participate?
oh, sure. Yeah, so we do have our Paws Prisons partners, blah, 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 blah. Let me start again. Our Paws Partners program is very active. So what happens is when our puppies turn in from our foster puppy raisers at about 14 months of age, so their first 8 months are with their mama, and then at 8 weeks, they actually go to a volunteer foster puppy raiser for about a year. At that point, they actually go to one of our prison partners. We have 6 prisons that we partner with in the state of Michigan. We like to say it's a win-win-win. It's a win for our dogs because they get a 24/7 training experience with their inmates. It is a win for the inmates because it is really life-changing work and changes their lives. And for prisons, they love these programs as well because overall behavioral incidences actually decrease when there are dog programs. So our dogs are actually in prison for about 6 months where they are doing an advanced obedience. So they're taking all of those skills that they started working on as a puppy, and they're getting just ongoing repetition and development. And so it's after that when they come back to campus that we start evaluating them for their career path. We also talked about it with our volunteers. Our volunteers often call prison college. So our kids get to go to college before they come back. Did that answer your question, Lavona?
It sure did. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Am I missing any final question?
I have one more question. Will they have, the things when we cross in the street, you push?
Yep.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I don't remember the names of anything. Will those be at more than one height? Because that's one thing I feel like.
We do have, I don't know what they're called either, quite honestly, Deshonda. Ryan and Melanie maybe will help. But yes, we will have some different of those buttons in a couple of different spaces. I'm not sure exactly how they're all in height, but I know we're getting some different sizes too, because some of them are bigger and some of them are smaller. So we're trying to get some different sizes in there too. So we'll have 2 or 3 on the simulated floor. And then we still, of course, bring our dogs out into public before they go into class too. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There's another question that I think I saw before and we missed, so thank you for repeating it. It says, is this construction delaying the normal training operations? They're concerned with how many people are on wait lists.
Yeah, we are too. So, we actually knew we would be going into construction, and about a year ago really started looking at how many dogs we could have on campus and how many we could be training at a time. And we actually accepted clients based on how many we felt we could still train. So we did not accept as many clients for the next year. as we would normally, with the assumption and the long-term goal that this construction will actually get us to be able to double the number of clients that we can serve a year. So it was a short-term pain for a long-term gain. So our goal by 2030 is to be placing about 100 assistance dogs a year, which almost doubles the number of assistance dogs that we were placing a couple of years ago. So yeah, so there is a little bit of a decrease this year, started a couple months ago this year, and it'll pick back up in 2026. Well, I would like to turn it over, Ryan and Melanie. Thank you so much for coming and doing this today. So grateful to you and all of your work. It's just amazing to see it coming together on our end. And Norm, thank you for jumping in and giving us your expertise as well. I would like to introduce you to Anne Maria really quickly. She is here somewhere, and she's going to help wrap us up. She and I one of the things we did mention is we are at 8.8 of our $9.5 million goal. So we are trying to close that final gap as well as continue to keep our operations moving so that we are running strong through this construction process and into the next step. Anne, are you here?
Yeah, I'm right here. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, just quickly, I wanted to talk about my passion for Paws. I have been a volunteer for Paws for 5 years now. I'll say it started, I wanted a puppy. That's really why it started. I wanted to raise a puppy. But since then, I have had the benefit of meeting amazing volunteers. I see many of you on the call right now. The clients that I've met where dogs have changed their lives, and also the staff. I can't say enough about the staff, not only the work that they do day to day, but also the work they have done to come up with this vision and to work towards getting the funding that we've gotten. Like Michelle said, we still need about $700,000. I have chosen not only to raise puppies, but also to contribute to Paws on an annual basis, which is, of course, very, very important. And we need to continue doing that. But I just hope you guys are as excited as I am at what you have seen. All the changes, what Michelle was saying about serving twice as many clients, how exciting that is. So if you're thinking about giving and you're excited like I am, I do hope you can think about giving a little more this year towards the project. You can also extend it over several years like I'm doing. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am. And what started as just a volunteer thing has turned into such a passion for everything that this organization does and all the amazing people and dogs that are involved. So.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you to you and your husband Bruce for all you do every day. Don't want to miss that he is in that process with you with those puppies and everything. So thank you everybody for coming out today. I hope you found this as interesting as I did, and I just now have to remember what that little red thing is called because I've got to write that down for later. And thank you so much for supporting Paws and believing in our work. We're just really excited for what comes next. And again, Ryan and Melanie, thank you for giving us your time today and sharing a little bit of the insight of how you got us here.
Our pleasure. And thank you for having us.
Yeah, we love you guys. You've been just a fantastic organization to work with. Could not say enough kind things about you.
Ditto. Have a great night, everybody, or afternoon if you're in a different time zone. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.